Okay, let's do this. Today we're going to talk about the Rubber Ducky and how to use this device and how effective it is. And I'm going to do a real demonstration with a script that I have. And it's actually a script that I share on GitHub, and I'll share the link with you later. And what's so special about my script is that it because I work in Japan, I had to put in a couple of PowerShell inputs to basically internationalize the script. There are other videos out on YouTube that show how to do that, but they're incomplete. My script is complete. It will take a Japanese keyboard or take a Japanese environment, and through PowerShell, it'll turn it into English. So this puppy works, and then it'll revert it back into Japanese, all without the end user knowing about it. And I'll walk you through that script in a minute. But before that, let's check out, for example, another scene, I don't know, like where it would actually be used in a social engineering situation. And let's use Hollywood for that. I'll show you a little clip out of Mr. Robot. I've just got the good part, so we'll do that really quick here. So this is the scene that we're stepping into, and better. Let's show it in actual action. So what I have here is I'm logged into a remote server from my Kali. Let me share my whole screen with you here. So this is my Kali box. I've got Term open, and I'm logged into a remote system. I'm not going to give you the IP address or anything, but anyways, it is a remote Debian system. And on this side, I'm in FTP users home directory, and I'll list it. Actually, I got to click on there first. I'll list it, and there's nothing in there. The directory is completely empty, except for a couple of profile things. And then on this side, I'm going to start an FTP server. And there we go. And then I'm going to set up netcat to listen on port 8080, apologies. And there we have it. So that's netcat listening on port 8080 on this system. Let's pull this system out. If I can get the VMware bar to come down there. That was quite a challenge. So I've got VMware running here, and I've got an FTP user, and I'm waiting in that home directory, and I've got this listening on port 8080. And here's my Windows desktop. I'm going to run it first, and I'm going to show you that this will gather all of the information off of the computer, or all of the pertinent information that you need, including the SAM database if it's available. And then it will FTP all of that information to a computer. And then it will also start a reverse shell back to port 8080 on my listening computer. I have McAfee antivirus enabled on this. And we're going to see how this just basically bypasses McAfee or any other endpoint control that I have on here. So I'm plugging it in right now. And you can see right there, it just starts kicking in. It's putting in PowerShell commands. And in a nutshell, basically what the script does is it creates one massive, it runs PowerShell commands to create one massive PowerShell script inside of a notepad. So you can see right now, right there, that my notepad is open, but it's been dragged out of sight. So right now, over these next 30 seconds or so, it's writing a huge PowerShell script file, including the reverse shell. So here in a few seconds, it's going to kick in again to save that PowerShell script, and then to go ahead and execute it. And then a couple of things will pop up that will set the language back to the original language, which in my case is the Japanese language. There we go. So it's coming through already. Okay, so that executed the script. And now it's going to go back in and set the language. There's 3 different commands to set the language back. It's the locale, the culture, and I think there's a keyboard thing in there. So the script is complete. Now, to see if the script actually worked and that we didn't get detected, let's go back in here. And both of these will take a second. So, you know, it's running. You know, I know that it could be a rather large file. The way that I have this set up is that it uploads a file called report.zip. So let's see, let's ls, not yet, probably coming. And nothing over here. There's a listening port, but like I said, it takes a second. So we can see right there, report.zip popped up, and it is it's not that big actually. What's a zip file? So let's unzip it. And as we can see, there's quite a bit of loot there. There's the SAM database. There's computerinfo.html. There's quite a bit here. Wow, interesting. That didn't open it up, but if I say cat, it's actually information, all kinds of information about the computer that I don't want to display too long here. But other things in the duck folder, it creates a duck folder and it shows all the WLAN profiles that the computer has. And then of course there's the SAM. So if you look at the size of the SAM, you'll see that, yeah, there is some loot there. It's 131K. So we come over here and it doesn't look like we've got anything coming back in. But from my experience, that takes a little while. So let's move on over to a little further in the discussion, and then we'll come back and look at this because there's quite a bit to talk about here. So basically, when we're talking about the Rubber Ducky, we're looking at basically a physical attack, something that requires physical access to the target device, or you need to have somebody that has physical access. And of course that brings a scenarios. So most likely, and usually the easiest in a red team situation may not be in the facility because the red team didn't get into the facility. So it could be at a cafe or a diner. It could, it could be because they've left their car unlocked and the laptop's in the car. Or in many a scenario, we see that hotels, hotel keys are very easily copied and getting into a hotel or a laptop that's stored in a hotel room. It's not a plug and play device. For me to put this, to get this script going with a Japanese keyboard, if I had just a plain vanilla English keyboard, it may have gone quicker. But for me to put this script together, it actually took about 4 or 5 hours to figure it out. And there's a lot of complaints on the Hack 5 forums and also other reviews about Hack 5 because it says that, their Rubber Ducky didn't work out of the box or whatever, and don't expect any of their toys to work out of the box. It requires some engineering to make it work the way you want it to work. Like anything good in hacking, it doesn't come easy. It comes with skill and understanding. And even with that, there's some tinkering to get it done right. Each scenario is different. It does work, however. It bypasses USB endpoint protection. And the reason is because it registers as a hardware interface device. So it's a keyboard. As far as the computer is concerned, it's a keyboard. And you don't see USB endpoint protection systems blocking keyboards and blocking mice. Otherwise, the help desk would be extremely busy every time somebody brought a third-party keyboard or they just moved a system from one location to the next and they unplugged the keyboard and had to re-plug the keyboard. There are probably ways to register around that some way, but I know that those controls are most likely not in place in most enterprise environments. It does bypass OS endpoint protection. As you saw, it bypassed McAfee. I don't have a whole lot, like even in malware development, that I create that bypasses McAfee or the other things like CrowdStrike or Cortex, on the very high end. This will do that because it looks like the user's typing PowerShell commands. And also, if you're careful about what commands and the speed that you type them at are input, so that it very much looks a bit more like a user to those higher end endpoint systems, the better. And I'll walk you through that right after this. Here is the Ducky script that I created, and I recommend you to use it. Even if your target's like you think they're on an English keyboard or it's in the United States, this might come in very helpful because it actually does make sure the keyboard is English, or at least the recognized keyboard that's plugged in that the Rubber Ducky is emulating is in English. And it does put it back into whatever the original language is. In this case, it'll put it back into Japanese. So make sure, so that's an understanding. I kind of take that back. Don't just use it on an English keyboard. But I take that back completely. That was probably an unfortunate statement because you actually want to know your target and know the keyboard that they're working on, because you want to be able to take that, put it into English, and then put it back into the original OS keyboard setting. And that's about it. So, there's this GitHub right here. I'll put all of this in the description for the podcast. So we can see right now, if we come down here, that I did finally pop my shell. This is off of that script. So I'm going to show you the second screen here, and here we are. We can see that we have popped a shell. And that we are good and ready to go. And just to make sure, let's see, who am I? right there, Kirt Cathey on my local system. And, just right there in the system 32 directory, I popped a shell. So that's the way it works. That is the Rubber Ducky in a nutshell. These are very effective for endpoint attacks. They do bypass endpoint protections. And on the flip side, though, they're also something to look out for. So on the flip side is, what do we do to protect against these? Vigilance. Don't leave your laptop laying around, especially unlocked, and don't don't assume that somebody with access to your laptop would not have one of these, especially if you work in like an engineering or a development environment and you work in a mixed cultural environment, because most likely, in those kinds of environments, we find that insider seeding is actually more prevalent, and insider seeding using tools like this is very effective because it gets all the information that they need to get out. Especially if you're like having a vendor meeting and you've got to run out to the bathroom or something with your laptop there. It's a quick way for somebody to get a lot of information about your internal network in literally seconds. You saw it took a while to pop the shell, but that was already after this had run. So I could have pulled the Rubber Ducky out and walked away, and I would have gone back to log in to my computer to have the shell. And that's the way it works. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. That's the Rubber Ducky. Please visit my website, not my website, but my GitHub, and download the Rubber Ducky, and or not download the Rubber Ducky, but please visit GitHub and download the Rubber Ducky script, and then also please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Be much appreciated. Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.